Hello and welcome to Moscato and Tea. This is the show for all things beauty, business, and community with your host Inez and Chiquita. Keeping it raw, real, and unfiltered.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello there.
Morning.
Morning.
Look who we have here.
And who is this? Say hello.
Who am I?
This is Mr. Sean Feeney.
Yes. Hey, welcome,
I
Sean.
like to call him, well, he's not only my friend, and I like to call him sometimes my husband.
I love it.
But I also like to call him my podcast guru.
Oh, nice.
wow.
Yes, he's my podcast guru.
That's quite the
Yes.
the title to live up to. I hope I
Yeah.
can.
Well, you've been doing good so far.
Thank
You know,
you.
I'm trying to catch up to you.
So I would say that you have far surpassed where I'm at, just because I walk in and we're actually in like a legit studio.
Yeah.
For the record, I record my podcast in my closet. So this is definitely like we've advanced pretty far on the road.
Okay.
Okay, I'm doing good.
Okay, we're
doing
doing good. Yes.
See?
Yeah,
Okay.
you
Yeah,
guys
no,
are-
we've talked about this because I told him I'm not the type of person that's going to buy equipment and put it all together and edit.
Right.
So I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
I'd rather spend the extra money, go
Yes.
to an actual, legit studio and have them do all that. We just show up.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So-
well, speaking of which, now that we've introduced Sean,
Yes.
please, you
Yes.
know the rules.
Yes.
As we talk,
Welcome.
we
She's ready to
chug.
drink, y'all.
I was
drink,
wondering how
drink,
long
drink,
you were
it's
gonna take.
Cheers. Okay.
I'm so
Cheers.
excited that you're here.
Take a sip and time to talk.
Yes, get the tea, honey. But no, I just wanted, a couple weeks ago I was on his show.
Nice.
And
So why don't we? What's the name of Sean's show?
Yeah. Yes, I forgot about that. See, I'm already. It's called Think Outside the Lines.
Very
And it's
good.
by
Thank
Sean
you.
Feeney.
Oh, nice.
I
So,
love it.
Sean, what's your podcast about?
Yes.
Oh my gosh! So my podcast initially started as a blog.
Okay.
I remember that.
I've always been really passionate about entrepreneurship, and
Oh, great.
See, this
I
is perfect.
wanted to have a resource for people. So it started conceptually. It was supposed to be people would come and write guest blog posts
Okay.
about their experience with entrepreneurship, provide tips, insight, that sort of thing.
Right.
As I started to execute that project, I realized that podcasting was starting to emerge, and it was,
Yeah.
gaining a lot of prominence.
It
And
really
so
is.
I said, I love to talk to people much more than I like to write.
Right.
So let's try it as a podcast. And so it kind of has evolved
Yes.
since then. And
huge.
we can talk about this in a little bit, but I actually just interviewed like the number one guest that I had on my list of people that like my dream list of interviews.
Oh, that's
Yeah, we gotta talk about
amazing.
Laura
Yes,
Jones.
just
that's,
released my interview with her. So
that's great.
yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. And I'm really proud of you guys. I've been listening to your show, and it's super
Yes.
professional.
We're
Thank
trying.
you.
We're trying.
Yeah,
Thank
you guys are, and it's fun.
Yeah,
and so,
we try to keep it uplifting, fun, and stuff like that. And it was funny because when I told him about the show, and then he listened to the first episode,
Right.
he he texted me and he was like, "I love the show. Turn off your phone."
oh, did I give you those notes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I would die laughing. I was like, as long as he liked the show, I'm okay.
Okay. That's,
Well, and your phone is still on today, so I
my
see you
phone's
took
still
my
on.
advice.
Yeah, I like to see what's going on.
Totally. It's
yes. And she definitely put it on silent. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget. She came back the next time we were
Yes.
recording. She's like, Sean said, I was like, girl, were you having that phone on?
Yes.
She's like, yes. So now she's better about it.
Yes.
So
Okay, good.
she
I'm getting
definitely listens and
Yes.
heeds your advice. So I would like to know, and I'm sure audience would like to know a little bit about your background.
Yes.
And I know you said entrepreneurship, if I can say it correctly. But what inspired you to do that?
So that's a really good question. Like I said, initially the show has actually evolved from entrepreneurship, and I can go into that a little more in depth. But essentially, I loved having conversations with entrepreneurs.
Okay.
But after the election last year,
Yeah.
I kind of lost faith in like everything, humanity.
Yeah.
And
rough.
not to get too political, because
Yeah.
I know we don't want to get too deep on the show, but I didn't know if I wanted to do my show anymore, to be honest with you, just
I remember
because
that.
having the conversations that I was having with people just felt like there's bigger things that I
Right.
could be talking about and putting out into the world more importantly. And so I stopped doing my show for about 6 months.
Wow.
And when I reflected on why, if I were to continue, how I would do that, I realized that most of the conversations I was having, the topics that would kind of veer off into like bigger questions about
Right.
life and the universe and spirituality and stuff, really resonated more with me and with my audience, with the feedback that I was getting. And
Right.
so I said, okay, I want to continue, but I want to do a little revamp.
Okay.
And I had a friend, so Danielle Laporte, who's like a big spiritual guru in my life, had an event in LA, and my friend had invited me to go to that. And randomly, the topic of my podcast came up. And very long story short, she was my number one.
Oh,
Like when I originally started the podcast, she was the one person that I really wanted to talk to.
Right.
And at that point, only really people when you first start that will do your show are people that know you.
Right.
Because you don't really have anything out there to prove that, like, hey, I'm legit.
Right.
So by this point, I'd had some episodes under my belt, and I'd interviewed a few other prominent people. And so I asked her to do my show at her event, and she said yes.
Oh, that's
And This is like,
amazing.
I had
That is
emailed her
so-
team like 10 other times
Yeah.
prior to this and been
Yeah.
ignored each time.
Right.
But being face-to-face with her and being able to articulate my purpose with the show and what her episode would be like, she said yes. She said, email my people. And I was all excited because I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to bring my show back. It's going to be perfect.
Right.
And I'm going to relaunch with her episode. And so when her people finally get back to me for scheduling, they basically say, cool, this is in June. She's available in October. And I was like, oh, that's when you're like a really busy, prominent
Yeah.
person. Your
Right.
schedule is
Yeah.
booked for 6 months.
Right.
So I had to kind of reconfigure some things. But now that I'm back, my show is much more spiritually focused. And like I said, we're talking about some of the bigger, more important things that are happening in the world.
Yeah.
Love
Very.
it.
In fact, I'm actually really passionate. I'm in the process of putting together a couple. I think it's going to be your episode, and then I'm going to do like a back-to-back episode.
Yeah.
But on the topic of Black Lives Matter,
Yeah,
just
it was-
because I think
yeah.
that's something that, like, as a privileged white male, I feel a responsibility to have conversations about topics that I might be, I don't want to say ignorant to, because I feel like I've done some
Right.
of my due diligence in researching the topic, but I want to talk to people that are out there struggling in ways that I'm not.
I think that is amazing, and it's perfect in a sense right now what we need and where the world is at.
Totally.
Excuse me. I think people have lost kind of like faith and spirituality and finding themselves and figuring out that there's more to the world besides, materialism, which is important.
Yeah, of
but I
course,
think
but-
finding who you are and finding all of that,
humanity.
that gives you an understanding of compassion.
Yes.
Being able to relate
Yes.
to others. It took you a moment. That's really big for someone to sit there and say, you know what, I'm not really happy with what's going on. Let me stop for a second. Let me revamp.
Yes.
And a lot of people won't do that because they're afraid they'll
Yeah.
lose followers.
Yes.
They're more about what's now than what is the long term. So for you to do that, that's huge. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm
you.
sure other things from that will come forth.
Yeah.
But as more, because Chiquita did tell me a bit about who you were and whatever. So on our end, honored that you're willing to come on our
Yes.
little
That's what I
podcast,
told him.
Hey.
and talk with us. This is very new for us. This is something that Chiquita's my client. It
Yes.
just kind of fell in. We're like,
Yeah.
wouldn't people love to be a fly on the
Yes.
wall of a wax room and find out what we really talk
Yes.
about?
And you know what? That's what a podcast is, actually. In fact, if you read the reviews for like my show, everyone basically says, I feel like I'm a fly on the wall, or I feel like I'm having like a wine night with friends, listening in on their conversation. And that's really what the intention of my show really has always been, regardless of the topic. And to answer like your original question, my purpose has always been I want to put something good out into the world and something positive, especially in the chaos that we're experiencing right now,
Yes.
especially in America, right?
Right.
And so that is really my intention with each episode, is to how can I make an impact in someone's life through this conversation in a positive way.
I love it.
From the start, that's been my
That's-
intention, and that's the through line.
Hey, I mean, I wish more and more, people will follow suit, but you just doing doing your portion and doing what you can, that's huge. And that's, that should be applauded
Yes.
because that's
Big
Thank
time.
you.
Yeah, that's,
Yes.
that's
You guys
very
too,
good.
though. I think any form of entertainment right now, I mean, we're not going through the Great Depression or anything. I don't
Right,
want to
yeah.
make it sound too dramatic, but any form of entertainment that people can turn to that's going to help them through their situation, whether it's laughter, whether it's
just an escape,
totally,
somewhere.
Yeah.
that's what people are looking for. And
absolutely.
I just want to heighten that a little bit because I want there to be a level of consciousness around how you can be intentional in the world.
Yes.
Big time.
I think that's huge. I think people are lost now.
Yeah.
I think it was at the very beginning when the president, I say the
call
president,
him that.
the man.
Let's call him
Yeah.
45.
Yeah,
Yes,
45. There we go. 45 was elected. I think a lot of people got lost and didn't
Yes.
realize what really was going on. I think we live in a bubble a lot of times, and I think that's everybody.
Yeah.
I think the whole,
yeah.
the whole United States lives in a bubble,
Yeah.
and I think this was a really big wake up call in a sense of like, wait a minute, hold up a second, what's really going on here? How am I involved in this,
Yes.
and how can I change things, and what am I going to do differently? I mean, we got both extremes, but it's called a learning process.
Yeah.
I think personally, I think that humanity and love is so much greater
Yes.
than
Amen.
hate.
Amen.
And I just think that the media focuses a lot on the hate than they do more on the love. But
Exactly.
regardless, love wins. And we've seen in many, many ways and things coming out here that people are just like, you know what? I'm just going to love my brother, or I would just
exactly.
love my sister. I'm just going to love this human being.
Totally.
You know, I'm just going to live out there and project love. And we're healing each other in that form than more than we are in hate. So for me, the more love you project, the more love is out there, and the more you can do. And just right here, you can feel the love and the greatness and the vibe that we're all giving off to each other. And I think that will
Positivity.
resonate with other people and be like, you
Totally.
know what?
Yes.
You know, I mean, at the reality, there, two young, two black women here and a white privileged man. We're having a,
Yes.
Totally.
a
Absolutely.
decent conversation
Yeah.
without nobody, but just showing
And drinking.
love and not even looking,
And
and
drinking.
drinking.
Cocktails.
And here's the thing too. At this point, I don't even see Sean
Yes.
as a white man. I
Yes.
see him as a human being
Yes.
who is projecting love and wants to show love to other humans, and that's what it really should be. He doesn't. He sees Inez, he sees Shakita, and we see Sean, and
Yes,
that's the way it
that's
should
it.
always be. And if I think we
Yes.
saw the world more in that way, we would have a much better and much happier society because we're all. I just think we need our souls to be filled.
Yes.
I agree,
time.
and that's really the objective with my show. To be honest
Yes.
with you, like that's I want to have conversations with like-minded people who and at some point I'd like to veer off and have conversations with people that are not like-minded because I
Yeah,
think
of course.
those conversations
Yeah.
can be potentially more impactful.
Absolutely,
Like
and learn
I
something.
come from
Yeah.
a family of Republicans, and
Yeah.
so
Many times he's texted me from situations with
Yeah.
his family.
after the election, I actually stopped talking to my family for
Yeah.
a while. I was a huge Hillary supporter. They were huge Trump supporters. And for me, it really came down to not necessarily – I understand people have strong opinions
Right.
about both candidates. But
Right.
for me, it was like you are voting for this person that is so immoral and so just disgusting, right? And again, I'm sorry to keep getting political, but it's just something I'm really passionate about actually.
It's okay.
And I think that like I did a series of conversations after the election with friends and family that Hillary supporters essentially.
right.
Thank you. More wine.
Of course, this is
Never go wrong with more
I
wine.
know,
Right.
absolutely not.
But yeah, and I at some point I want to talk to more Trump supporters because I think that we need to be asking questions
Yeah.
and
Oh, absolutely.
learning
We
wanna
about where they're
understand
coming
everybody's
from.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's funny, as we say, in my industry, I deal with all kinds, all religions, all races, all everything. We try not to get too political. But there'll be times like, we'll be political. At the end of the day, they know me as me and I know them as them. And I always, there was a couple of Trump supporter clients that I had, and I asked them why. I asked them why. Like, you're here with a black girl who's waxing you. This doesn't seem kind of like up your alley for Trump. Like, it just doesn't seem, it seemed kind of like an oxymoron kind of thing. And a lot of them were just more on I don't think they were really looking at him as a human being and what he did. I think they were looking at something more of like a great person who's going to come in and
blow up the system. That was
yeah.
their
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
premise,
this,
right?
yes.
My perspective, though, is like I don't know why you would want like a bartender flying an airplane.
Well,
Like,
okay.
I want,
Sure, yes.
I
Yes.
want a pilot flying an airplane. And
Yeah,
you had literally
absolutely.
the most qualified, not just woman, human,
Yeah.
ever to run for office, right? For this role. And she literally, there's been no one more qualified. Not her husband, not like God love him, Obama. Like he didn't have as much experience, right? She literally came into this like she was more fit for this job than any other person ever has been, or probably will be for a long time, right? Versus this person that's just going to come in and shake things up. Well, I guess
He
I
has.
hope that they've got what they've wanted. Right?
Yeah, I think they got more than they bargained for.
totally.
But at the end of the day, this is now where people are really starting to look at it and say, maybe I really do want somebody who's political. Maybe I used to always say to people like, well, okay, so now that he can be 45, then maybe I can go ahead and start doing plastic surgery because I'm an esthetician and I know it was just 100%. One of those things. Yeah. So I think but when you really sit down and you start talking to people, you just kind of. It just lets you know we're a very unique and diverse country. This just makes us, our country great in that sense. We are unique. We're different. We're all diverse. This country was built off of a lot of things, a lot of diversity. There's all kinds of different things, immigration, just a lot of things that we're trying to stop that our country is based off that will never, ever. Never.
But in order to move forward, I think we have to embrace that.
Absolutely.
And we're not there yet
we're
as a
moving
society.
We're going back.
We're going back.
I hope.
I don't know if you've seen the different Jeff Sessions and all these conversations.
But I think the problem is too. A lot of these older. A lot of these older men are afraid of change and letting it go. Yeah. But as they see more and more diversity, I don't think that they're. If you look around, there's just everybody's just with everybody. Love is love. It doesn't matter. It's not looking at creed, color. It's just love is love. And so out of that, we're having children that are coming out of love and all kinds of different areas. So eventually. I always say one way or the other, it's going to push you back to the wall. It's either going to break the dam or it's going to fix the dam. So more than likely, you're going to have to break the dam and then fix the dam. And while you're fixing it in a proper way where it's more stable. And I think that's where we're at right now. The dam is actually broken and it's just, it's really starting to crumble. And I think people are trying to figure out how can we rebuild this in a much better and much a better way. Yeah. So we'll see what happens in the next election.
Exactly. Big time.
Amen. Well, we have the House and Senate races coming.
True.
First, right? That's the most important thing because I think if we can have more Democrats elected in that race, then we can potentially get this guy out of office.
Yeah. Hopefully. Just people with common sense. Just keep it real. People with common sense. But
wait a minute. You driving in LA and we don't even have people with common sense.
That's
use your signal light.
Yeah.
That was,
Hey, there's a whole podcast on that.
Yeah, we can do that another day. But let's kind of bring it back to your podcast. So what's coming up for you in the next 6 months or year for the podcast? Do you see yourself evolving into maybe doing speaking engagements? What do you see yourself doing?
That's a really good question. I hate public speaking. Yeah. Like I said, I record my podcast on Skype in my closet. So I know.
I was drinking when I was doing it because I was so nervous.
Yeah, it was fun though, right? Well, you weren't in my closet.
I was.
Clear,
I was like, he doesn't keep.
I was like, that's kind of.
It was so funny. So my parents listen, and I saw them a couple weeks ago, and they basically were like. Tell us more about how you do this because it sounds really professional and everything. I was like, I'm in my closet when I record it. And they're like, so people come to your house and go in the closet with you and record? I was like, no, it's Skype. Technology is this amazing thing.
Right.
In terms of what's next, to be honest with you, like I said, I've kind of shifted the focus in terms of bigger questions, more spiritually oriented. And I really just want to continue to go in that direction. Yeah. I've looked into monetization a little bit because I think at some point I'm almost at 500,000 downloads, which is insane.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So at this point, I feel like I'm ready to start looking into that. But when I listen to podcasts, my biggest I don't like that interruption of in the middle of the conversation, let's talk about underwear and sell you sheets or whatever. It's I don't. That's not what my show is about. I didn't start my show for money. I started it because like I said, I wanted to put something good out into the world, and so. There's different monetization elements that I'm looking into, and I'm sure you guys will explore at some point, depending on how you proceed with this. Right. But really, it's just to continue to put good stuff out in the world and inspire people through conversation, hopefully intelligent, informed conversation.
Perfect.
I love it.
Do you have any favorite charities or people in the community, that you help to support, you love, that we could, shout out?
Gosh, right now I feel like there's so many things I'm passionate about. I've always been really passionate. There's an organization called the Trevor Project, which is basically crisis counseling for LGBT youth. Just because that's, growing up gay, I had luckily had support systems in my life, but there's a lot of kids out there that don't.
Right.
And, the suicide rate amongst them is pretty high. And so this organization really reaches out and helps them. And so, of course, I'm really passionate about that. I think living in Los Angeles, especially lately, the homeless issue has really become something that's the top of mind just because,
especially veterans. homeless veterans. I've seen.
So it's a lot of veterans and it's mental health. And
Mental
I think
health,
that
yes,
if we
yes.
address the mental health issue in this country, then I think we could work wonders with, stuff like homelessness and
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of go into a little fun stuff with some tea time. Are you ready?
Ready for it? Okay. He has his tea.
He has his tea.
And we
we
have a
got
couple
about to get the tea from him.
Yeah, to get the
This
tea.
is just really quick fire questions, like 5 or 6 questions, nothing too
love
crazy.
rapid fire. Let's do it.
So you ready?
I'm ready.
Your favorite president, dead or alive?
I mean, not to sound cliche, but I have to say Obama.
Okay. That's
Do I get to elaborate, or is it just...
No, that's it.
That's it? Okay. I think I've explained myself this far.
Yeah, I think you've talked about, the opposite.
You're like,
of
no more
who was-
politics, Sean.
Yes, no more.
Why did I ask that question?
Your favorite guilty pleasure?
My favorite guilty pleasure? Are you going where I think you're going with this? Because it's the Housewives.
Which one?
Yeah.
You know there's
We
a
were-
bunch.
Yeah.
So Shakita and I actually were texting. I was probably a little tipsy the other night.
I think he was drunk.
But I was watching the new season of Atlanta, and I can't even with these people. I have to say that so Atlanta, Beverly Hills, and Orange County are have always been the ones that I watch. I'm partial to OC just because that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
I have to be honest. I started watching Housewives with OC, and those women.
They are
and
so
they're
crazy.
The sexy bitches?
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
They're crazy.
Yes.
This last season was just
Yes.
they just find stuff to
Enough.
argue about.
The
I'm just
littlest thing.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
like OC Atlanta.
Yes,
those
it's
are my
crazy.
housewives. So yes,
Yeah.
guilty
Yeah.
pleasure. I love it.
All right.
Okay.
Worst habit?
My worst habit. It's probably procrastination.
Okay. That's like the 3rd or 4th time somebody said that.
Yeah, I tend to work really good under pressure. So if I have an hour to do something, or you give me 2 weeks to do something, I'm probably not going to get it done until the last hour anyway. It's kind of how I've always been. So
Cool.
I love it. Okay, Sean, boxers or briefs?
boxer briefs.
Ooh, I like AS. Boom.
Okay. Fancy.
Keeping it okay. So if favorite, okay, right now, what kind of music do you listen to?
So not to sound cliche, but I listen to everything. Pop music though will always be my.
Yeah.
Okay, so
go-to.
pop. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say favorite pop artist
Right now.
Right now.
That's really tough. Just because I literally music is next to my podcast and stuff is my biggest passion. My favorite pop artist. I mean, this is gonna sound super gay, but Carly Rae Jepsen.
That was not what I was expecting.
I know,
but okay.
right? You expecting Taylor Swift?
Yeah,
Just 'cause
yeah.
you're
I was actually
He's like, you're not white. Let's
yeah,
go
I was
with Taylor Swift.
I was actually expecting Britney. I was gonna be like,
yeah.
I already
Okay,
knew
well,
it.
Yeah.
all time. I mean, yeah, Britney, but Carly Rae Jepsen, her last album was just so. If you have a love for pop music, it lyrically, sonically, it's a fucking amazing album.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome.
Alrighty, and last but not least, if you had to pick a superhero right now, who would you pick and why?
That's a tough one. I'm not really a superhero guy. I'm not I've never been oh, this is my superhero. Let me reflect on the films that I've enjoyed the most.
There you go. We can do that.
I'm gonna have to say, I don't know. Batman was kind of cool. I enjoyed those movies.
Okay,
Yeah.
Batman.
Sorry,
Okay,
my-
Batman.
My answer's
Okay,
pretty weak.
okay.
Perfect.
Because what?
That answer's pretty weak. Sorry.
I was like, but why? Why would you choose Batman?
Why?
Yeah.
Just
what about
because
him?
He's all stealth and ultimately protecting the city and
Yeah. Okay.
I love
Cool.
it.
There we go.
Well, Mr. Sean Feeney, we truly, truly are thankful for you for
Are we
coming on.
done? That
Yes,
was so
we're
fast.
done.
Hey,
Yes,
we know we
appreciate
keep,
you.
yeah,
though.
we do it
Yeah,
quick. Like
yeah.
as we say, we
Ain't
do
it?
it quick and easy. You
Yeah.
know, short.
Love it.
You know.
Try not to leave you hurt or anything.
I think I'm good. I think I'm good.
So tell everybody really quick, where they can find you.
Yes.
And then we're gonna, post everything on our sites. And
Yeah.
stuff.
You can find me at thinkoutsidelines.com.
Perfect.
Easy.
All the links
please.
to subscribe, regardless of whether you're iOS, Android, all the social media links, everything can be found there.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
so much, Sean.
Truly
We appreciate it.
Yay.
Thank you. I just
You
want to
have
say
to-
I'm
yes.
really proud of you guys. This is
Thank
I love the show.
you.
It's a lot of
Thank
fun, and I think the best way to you guys just got started and dove
Yes,
in, and I
yes.
think that's how you have to do it. So
Yes.
congratulations.
Just jump in
Thank
there.
you.
Thank
That's
you so
amazing
much.
coming from you. Thank you so much.
Truly love it. Love you.
Love you.
Thank you guys for listening, and you can find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on our website that we just launched. And just subscribe and review and rate. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. To Take a little time to enjoy your brand of Moscato and tea with us every day on our blog. Subscribe and follow us on Patreon for exclusive content. MoscatoandTea.blogspot.com.